Hello, everybody. This is Jacob Sapochnik, the host of the Enchanting Lawyer podcast. This is a show where we interview the most inspiring entrepreneurs, business people, and attorneys who share with us their interesting stories, ideas, and help us do what we do better. And today I have an attorney who is quite known in the field of marketing, very respected attorney that has really, in my mind, changed the way we do marketing for lawyers. And I have Ben Glass with me, the CEO of Great Legal Marketing. Ben, for those of you who don't know him, is an entrepreneur, attorney, thought leader, and father of 9 children, 4 of whom are adopted from China. Ben serves on the board of Love Without Boundaries, which provides healing homes and need surgeries for orphans in China. He gained national acclaim for taking the marketing tactics of other fields and applying them to the legal profession, even when others said it couldn't be done. The Great Legal Marketing National Summit is a sellout every year, and Ben continues to coach hundreds of attorneys on how to position themselves against the big, as he calls them, 800-pound gorilla law firm in their cities. So, Ben, I'm excited and honored to have you on the show. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Well, thanks, Jacob. As we were talking before we went live, it's sunny where you're sitting, and it's overcast and rainy where I'm sitting, but we're doing just fine.
Perfect. So, Ben, I was following you, over the years, when I started my practice, 11 years ago. And one of the things that I've, and we're going to talk about your book as well today, but one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, first of all, with everything that I described, you have, I was correct, you have 9 children, right?
That's right. 4 of them are up and out into the world. We've got 5 teenagers live with us at home. Yep. So
how do you have time to practice, to write a book, and run a separate business which is based on marketing? And I think it's an important question to start with because one of the things that I get emails from a lot of attorneys is the fact that they can't manage their time, they can't seem to be doing, they can't be achieving the goals because there's just so many things to do.
Yeah, and it is a great question, and it's a seminar unto itself. I'm married to my best friend for over 30 years, Sandy, who's a great stay-at-home mom. Basically runs that household. She actually also does the books for the law firm. And people who get to know me know that I'm really ruthless. I'm a nice guy, right? But I'm really ruthless about my time. I mean, you had to jump through some hoops to even get me scheduled for this call. And
absolutely.
And we all talk, Jacob, about what's your purpose in life? What do you value the highest? And a lot of people will talk, and they'll even make a list. Very few people actually then live their lives by principles, which abide by what they have determined is their, are their highest priorities in life. And I really try to. So my highest. And we talk around here in terms of, you run a business, you run a law practice or another business in order to secure the financial and emotional security of your family first. Stop there. And so decisions that I make on a day-to-day basis about how the day is going to be structured and decisions that I make on a global basis, like, am I going to take your particular case, which is so complicated and would require so much travel, even if that case is potentially worth a lot of money, I'm going to turn it down because it's not consistent with how I want to live my day. And as we teach in Great Legal Marketing, there's, no matter what your practice area, look, there's plenty of work out there. The Avos and LegalZooms of the world are proving that. We can talk about that in a few minutes. And so I'm ruthless, and I have rules. I'm a huge fan of Dan Kennedy's book, No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs. Recommend folks listening to this go get that book because we eliminated things like unplanned inbound phone calls. Everything has to be done by appointment. You teach the clients and the other lawyers on the other side that this is how you live, and it makes sense for everybody. I block schedule my time, so I if I had an appointment for a deposition, you wouldn't be able to reach me for 2 hours or whatever. Well, schedule other things in my life, and you can't reach me for whatever that time is. And when you block schedule, you really see, gee, I got too much stuff on my plate. And you then have to get rid of things. And the last thing I'll say about this is people who do a lot and who are, as we say, icons in their community, they get asked to do a lot more. And you simply have to come to realize that every time you say yes to something, you are saying else. And so it's okay. I am okay with turning down a lot of opportunities, be they cases, be they other charitable endeavors, be they serving on committees, in favor of, I want to secure the financial and emotional security of my family. I want to be at a soccer game, cross-country meet, all that stuff. And so it's living your life by principles, guided by what you truly value.
And it's interesting because when I was looking at the book, and we're going to talk about it in a second, it looks like almost like a roadmap of some of the things that you do. I assume that you do in your practice, and also some of the things that you teach other attorneys. So why did you write so the book is Renegade Lawyer Marketing, and I'm curious. There's not that many books out there specifically for attorneys market. There's tons of books about marketing, but not that many focused for lawyers. So, and I'm curious, why did you write this book, and why now?
And there's even fewer marketing books focused on the solo and small firm lawyer. And look, I am one, you are one. We are the backbone of the legal economy. I mean, there's big law, but then there's millions and millions and millions of consumers that have legal problems that need you, and they need me, and they need our friends in their practice. So almost 10 years ago, I started a company called Great Legal Marketing, really to take things that I was doing in Ben Glass law and having some success with, and bringing them to the market, bringing them to lawyers. Because when I went from practicing in a firm to starting my own firm, I was a pretty good lawyer and got good results and knew how to try cases. But I didn't know anything about running a business, I found out. I didn't know anything about really attracting clients other than do a good job and they will come. So I just decided to start a business and to basically sell that information. We don't really sell marketing, but I help you if you are going to buy marketing or buy advertising. How does it fit? What's good? What's bad? Started Great Legal Marketing. Wrote my first book called Great Legal Marketing, and then basically updated that book for 2015 with Renegade Lawyer Marketing, because actually now the game has changed. And we can talk about how it's changed really over the last decade. And here's the changer. So when we started, and when I started my own practice, my competitor is the lawyer next door. We talk about the 800-pound gorillas, which are now the lawyers who have advertising on every bus,
every billboard,
everything, every channel. You're in the gym and there's 3 big screens of lawyer ads, and that was the competition. But now the world has changed, and if you think of Uber and Amazon and travel agencies, and now you think of Avvo and LegalZoom and Rocket Lawyer and the technology companies. And by the way, we love Avvo. We can talk about that. But today, millions and millions of consumers are voting against the traditional lawyer in favor of solving their problems on their own via technology. So you have the technology companies who all kind of their unique selling proposition, and I'll paraphrase, is dealing with lawyers sucks and it's expensive and we make it easy. They're out there. And now you think about it. They have unlimited money, virtually. They have no reins on them in terms of the rules of lawyer advertising, right? Because they're not lawyers. So they have massive resources. And if solo and small firm lawyers in particular don't figure out how to survive, they will go the way of the bookstore, of the travel agency, right, and of the cab drivers. Because those are 3 industries that if you didn't figure it out, you're being overrun by technology. And so that's it. Now, having said that, the solo and small firm lawyer is in the best position to survive this. We've seen the collapse of big law, right? The implosion of these big giant firms that serve corporations and businesses mainly. The solo and small firm lawyer, though, is nimble. Doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to work in the biggest ponds. He just needs, he and she needs a community of people who will evangelize for them. That's in large part what we teach. And I guess the last thing I'll say is I read a lot of articles, Jacob. I read a lot of state bar journals. And so I read the president's messages in these state bar journals. And some of them, not all, but some of them are waking up to the problem. Oh my gosh, what do we do with LegalZoom? And their answer for everything is twofold. It's let's try to regulate them. Wrong, okay? North Carolina State Bar is wasting millions of dollars probably fighting LegalZoom in a lawsuit in North Carolina. And if we can't regulate them, then their answer is, oh, well, let's study the problem. Let's have some more committee meetings and study the problem. Well, we'll all be gone if we're waiting
no solutions
for your state bar to study the problem. So our argument is that if you can learn how to better differentiate yourself and attract a lead, really then have flawless execution of follow-up marketing, and become an icon in your community and be known for something more than being a lawyer, okay? Because there's a lot of lawyers out there. So you introduced me, and I'm known, father to 9, advocate of success sort of theology for teenagers particularly,
right.
Run races on the board. See, I'm known for all that stuff, and nobody else in the world has that branding. Now you have your own branding because you have your own story.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you mentioned that because, like, in my case, I'm known as the Facebook lawyer, and we'll get to that towards the end because I'm curious to get your feedback on that issue. But I agree with you. It's very important to stand out. Yeah. So the lawyers who kind of come to Great Legal Marketing tend to be in small firms because they can make decisions quickly. They don't have committees. They tend to have what we call true ambition, which is I'm not just going to write my goals down on a piece of paper, but I'm actually going to do something about it. And they tend to want to buck the system, thus the Renegade part of Renegade Lawyer Marketing. And not that we violate ethical rules, but we look at ethical rules for advertising and we say, well, gee, here's a technique and it fits perfectly. It fits perfectly. I'm not going to violate the rule, but I am going to get my message out there. And in the beginning of your book, and I think you touched it right now, the guerrillas and the bar associations, how they're threatening the small business, small law firms. And the cover of your book has a vulture. I believe it's some sort of a vulture.
This cover has Superman on it. This cover has, the old cover had a vulture, and the vultures are the folks selling you.
Yeah, I thought I saw it on Amazon. Maybe you changed the.
This cover has a lawyer. Yeah. It's me, and the bullets are bouncing off of him because he's strong and he's Superman. Yeah, he's Superman.
So I'm curious, what are who are the vultures and how are they threatening the sustainability of small firms?
Yeah, so the vultures are all the companies that are selling you marketing tools. So they'll sell you a website, they'll sell you pay-per-click advertising, they'll sell you a billboard. And there's nothing wrong per se with any of that. It's just that if you, Jacob, know how to use one of those tools, you will be far better off. And they don't really know how to use the tool. So let's say you want to get more leads. So you've got, any number of these, again, technology companies that will sell you leads on the internet, right? They've got some website and they feed them to you. But they don't know anything about follow-up marketing. They're not teaching you how to answer the phone. They're not teaching you how to give great service. But they're happy to get your $1,500 a month.
Right.
That's my critique of them, is that they know their thing. They know how to sell it very well. In fact, you can use much of what they sell, but you got to know where it fits for you, for your practice, and where it fits, Jacob, vis-a-vis the other marketing you're doing. And I'll just give you an example, and I make this example in the book. That was selling, they were selling inbound links. So, back in the day, one of the things that some people thought was important was you go out and get all these links back to your website.
Correct.
And part of their pitch was, we'll sell you like 1,500 new links a month, which is and was ridiculous. However, they were then driving the links to a really crappy website. It was a website that had no chance to convert a visitor into a prospect into a client. And so we would look at something like that and we would say, all right, but let's first, so if someone actually does get to the website because you bought all these inbound links, we have a chance to convert them. And so they knew what they were selling. They obviously sold it very well. But in the scheme of things, it was a worthless tool. A lot of things that are sold are worthless because they just don't fit into the marketing system that's right for you. And that's what I help lawyers do. I can look at anyone's marketing and say, don't go spend your money here. Take that same dollar, spend it over here first. Let's fix this first, okay? Or they're asking you to spend 10. I'll show you how to spend 4 and get a better.
And get more.
That's what we do. Yeah.
And it's interesting you mentioned those vultures, and I like this. I'm thinking back in the day when I started, and the calls I'm getting, where they'll send you the sense of urgency. Do you want to be the only one in your market to get this many leads, or you have to make a decision tomorrow, or we're going to go to the next attorney, and it feels like
right.
They know we're under pressure. They know that lawyers won't need leads. They know that we need to pay the rent, and it's just they find the people to pay eventually, and even today. So it's interesting that it continues to happen. But I wanted to ask you, Van, what are some of the things that attorneys can do to get out of this cycle and say, when somebody calls me, know what to ask them, and then know what they need to do to become better at getting leads instead or building a practice instead of being a victim? Yeah.
So we always start with what's your differentiating message. So if I'm injured client and I'm looking for a personal injury attorney and I go to 10 different websites, well, pretty much you can guarantee that all 10 are going to look the same. We're aggressive. We don't get paid unless you get paid. And, we'll seek justice for you. And so somehow you've got to get out of that because if all you have is essentially the same message as the other 10, then whoever spends the most money will win that game. And so a method that we teach is to really take a sort of a different tack. So if you go to Ben Glass Law, so my website, all messages, if you've been hurt, you might not need a lawyer. Okay, well, that's a completely different message just to start with, because most law firms are not saying you might not need a lawyer. And then we say, but if you've been injured, before you talk to the adjuster or sign any forms or hire an attorney, because those are the 3 things that are going to happen, right? Then get our free information. And we have a number of books and white papers and reports, and a book called The Truth About Lawyer Advertising. So right off the bat, our messaging is different from no fee if no recovery, and we're aggressive. And every lawyer, and Great Legal Marketing, we have lawyers across the consumer niches, so bankruptcy, DUI, family law. Every lawyer needs to think about what you do is you study and you write down all of the messages that they're using, their headlines, their taglines, whatever, and think deeply about what is it that you could do that would be different. Number 1. Number 2 is, and this is I think a kind of a secret of all this, is that for every consumer, Jacob, who has a problem that you could solve in your practice, there's 9 other people in your community who have the same problem, and you would be the right lawyer for them. But for whatever reason, they're not ready. They're not ready to hire a lawyer. We forget we are very scary people. And so we have to have a system that not only says, yeah, call me now, we'll take care of you, but for those, what happens to the 9 other people, right, who maybe came to your site, downloaded your information, maybe called your office? What's the follow-up? What is in our world, it's typically an automated follow-up system that keeps you top of mind to someone who's already told you they have a problem. In an ethical, interesting way. So not in a way that says, hey, you still haven't hired a lawyer, you're an idiot, you need to hire me. So that we can close or get retained as the lawyer for at least some portion of those 9. Most law firms leave the 9 on the table. There's no follow. There's a letter. There's virtually no follow-up. And so really working on your your follow-up and your conversion systems, and that includes everything from, how the phone calls are answered, what the scripts are, what your autoresponders are, what sort of other collateral assets do you have. So folks who come down, who indicate that they're interested in what we do, but aren't ready to hire a lawyer yet, we've got books, we've got CDs, we've got papers, all in a way to empower the consumer.
Until they're ready to hire.
Until they're ready to hire. Or Jacob, they may take my book, How to Get Your Case Settled, without losing a lawyer, which is one of the books we wrote, and they may settle their case. Well, if that happens, fantastic. They've solved their problem. I'm a hero because I was the only one who was telling them that they could settle the case on their own. I know their name. I have their contact info because I was mailing them stuff. Now they're getting my monthly newsletter, and the next time they or someone in their circle of 50 needs a lawyer for a bigger case, who's there? Who's there? And then the last one to get really is this part of staying in contact with not only past clients, but prospects, vendors, your other referral sources, be they professionals like lawyers and doctors or others, staying in front of them typically with an interesting mailed monthly newsletter that makes you sort of iconic. And again, that's a whole other seminar of how to write an interesting newsletter so that you're in their house, you're in their mailbox every single month in an interesting way. And now I don't have to go buy a big TV ad, right?
Right.
Because if I
top of mind, you stay top of mind all the time.
Yeah, if I can grow 1,000 people who will evangelize for me and who know that story that you introduced me with, I don't need to advertise at all.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with that. One of the things that I always ask lawyers, and I'm curious, I want to know how to get clients. So, and I'm sure you hear the same. They always say, well, we rely on referrals. But I'm curious from you, and I think you mentioned it in the book, what are some of the reasons why clients are not going to refer to a lawyer?
Well, yeah. So, Jacob, have you ever said to someone, oh, you should try out this restaurant. It's downtown. It's fabulous French cuisine. And they go there and they go, oh, Jacob, man, that service, it was awful. And it was really expensive. And the food wasn't very good. Well, what does that do to your reputation, right? So one of the reasons that people don't refer is that, again, we're scary and they're putting their reputation on the line. And they need to know that you gave them really Disney-like service and that you will give really high level of service to the person they refer. That's one. Another one is it's amazing. It's amazing. So in our world, the personal injury world, you help someone slip and fall, you settle their case, they're happy, then you find out later they referred a car accident victim friend to a different lawyer. And you and I look at each other and go, how did that happen? Right? Well, I didn't know you did car accidents. Well, how could that be? It's all personal injury. See, we have a language all of our own inside the legal world, but we're not really good at communicating exactly what we do and who we could help to others. We make assumptions that are really unfounded. And even the term, quote, personal injury, what does that mean? I mean, is that, so again, being able to communicate that message, through, in large part, mailed monthly newsletter, helps the potential referrer know what it is you do. And the last thing is now giving that referrer tools. So a lot of our lawyers at Great Legal Marketing have written books. So we have lawyers who've written, The Woman's Guide to a Divorce in Virginia. Charlie Hoffheimer is a great lawyer down in Virginia Beach. Yeah. And Charlie gives the book out to his referral sources, so marriage counselors, psychologists. So now they don't have to say, call Charlie, he's a great lawyer, right? All they have to say is, here's a book written by a guy we respect. And so that'd be the third part, giving your referral sources a tool so they can't mess up the referral, because the book explains exactly what it is that Charlie does.
It's a credibility factor. It's actually a very good idea. Yeah. I just published my first book just a few weeks ago, and I'm going to start using that. Excellent.
Books are huge. I mean, and even if you, so lawyers who haven't written a book, go on bookdepot.com, and which is a site that sells remainder books, so you can get a lot of motivational books and stuff for $2 instead of $15, just to have something that you can
give away.
Right, with a personal note is far better than, Jacob, me sending you an email that says thanks or hi. I mean, emails are so impersonal.
Absolutely. Ben, we have so many things to talk about, but I know that our time is limited. But I wanted to ask you one very important question. And going through the book, you covered a lot of important, useful tips and strategies. But one thing that I noticed, that towards the end of the book, you mentioned social media and you refer to LinkedIn, but you don't cover or reference anything about Facebook or any of the other channels. And I wanted to ask your personal take, because I know that this is something that I was, Mr. Word, he's a marketing guy, and he has the attorney marketing newsletter, and others in that space who are not so keen on using social media. And I wanted to get your take and understand where you stand on this and how you see that space developing. Yeah,
it's a great question. So there's two parts. So you remember from the front of the book, I say, look, I'm not going to discuss details of the internet because you look like an idiot 6 months later when it's not there. So imagine if in my book, my first book, I'd written a lot about MySpace, and then you could buy it 3 years later and you think I'm an idiot. So that's number one. It's because what you talked about, so Facebook, LinkedIn, and whatever the tool du jour, right, is it can be fleeting. The second thing, though, the bigger reason is too many lawyers, Jacob, get seduced by the apparent ease of, hey, let me just go do a Facebook post, let me tweet something, and they'll think, well, now I've satisfied my marketing exercise for the day. But they don't have a good lead conversion website. They don't have scripts to answer the phone. They don't have any follow-up. And so our argument is, sure, we use all of those, and I actually have people that use them for me, but that's way after you create a real foundation. That's after your website is great, you're mailing your monthly newsletter. Then sure, you can do this stuff. I mean, we're huge fans of YouTube and informational videos about the law, and I have staff that do stuff on Facebook, and I don't even understand all of it. I certainly don't troll Twitter and to see what other people are saying. And it might all be gone tomorrow. I mean, what's coming down the pike? Who knows? I want the book to. So that's why the book talks more about principles. We do show a lot of examples of marketing that we use in Ben Glass Law. They're in the book. But it's more important that you understand principles. It goes back to your first question. How do you live your life with all these things going on? Well, we live by principles. But we market and build businesses by principles first. Tools, I can go figure out what tool might fit here.
I understand. I think that it makes sense. One thing I would add about social media and the way I was using it is it's typically to build relationship constantly. It's a very easy way to continue building relationship as opposed to just marketing with other attorneys, with other referral sources, and actually building your name, kind of like you said in the beginning, as the star in whatever field you are. And that's just an easier way to do it because we have so much access to quick information. You can just put a post or highlight what you're doing, and that's kind of a way to highlight yourself. But it's not replacing anything that we've done in the past 20 years.
Well, right. It's like thinking that if you want to get fitter and lose weight, all you have to do is eat an energy bar every day, but never go out and get your heart rate up.
Exactly. Absolutely. Exactly. You can take a selfie with that bar, and maybe that's going to happen.
That's exactly right. And so, there's a place for it. Yeah.
We're almost at the end of our time, and I wanted to ask you to give our listeners, one piece of advice. Somebody who is either starting out or somebody who's been practicing for years, and they feel that they're not getting where they need to get. And again, at the end of the show, we'll have links to your website, to all the. I know you're going to give us a link to for the book and also some bonus material that listeners can download. But just people who listen to it right now, in their cars, at home, at work, and they want to get some sort of one tip to keep us going, what would that be?
Wherever you are today, you're a product of all the decisions you've made. And so this is your responsibility, whether your practice is going really great or whether you're struggling. It's your responsibility. It's not anybody else's. And so an advice for anyone who's sort of, all right, now I want to learn more about marketing is the first thing you could do is look around at what all the other lawyers are doing and say, you know, I really am going to have to do something different. It's what I did. You know, when I first started getting into this years ago, I went and studied all the yellow pages at the library. And back in the day, now you're younger than I am, but back in the day, you have 100 pages of lawyer ads. And I thought, well, if I'm going to be in there, my message has to be different. And so, you know, what Great Legal Marketing offers is, I think, a look at a lot of different ways that lawyers can either build or reset their practices, starting with, hey, what practice area do I want to be in? And if so, here's models now for how other smart lawyers are marketing their DUI practice, again, their bankruptcy practice, their workers' comp practices. So look around, and you just got to walk in a different direction. I mean, nobody gets to a huge level of success by doing what everybody else is doing. It is the definition of average.
Absolutely. This is excellent advice. And Ben, if you want to state verbally your website or any other web domain that people can find you, your law firm or your Great Legal Marketing, you can say it now.
Well, thank you for that. So if you want to buy the new book, which has just been published, it's called Renegade Lawyer Marketing. You can get it on Amazon, but you can also get it at renegadelawyermarketing.com. And if you get it at renegadelawyermarketing.com, as you said, there are a number of instant bonuses that you'll get with your receipt. If you want to see more of what we do, you can go to greatlegalmarketing.com. And if you just want to see how some of these techniques are being used in my personal injury practice, go to benglasslaw.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ben, for taking the time and sharing your tips and story with our listeners.
Yes, sir.
And I truly appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to our listeners who are tuning in every week, sending us emails and notes. We appreciate you, and we'll see you at our next episode. Have a beautiful day.